is up.
Questions for Bush?
Bush, it seemed like you had a relationship with Malachi before he got here. Can you just tell us about that and just what you know about him?
Yeah, I think we placed an offer to him in the 9th grade when we were at Washington. Just you remember these recruiting trips that you have, and I think at that time, I mean, you look at the players now. It was Bryce Young was out there, C.J. Stroud was out there, Jaden Daniels was out there, and Mal was kind of the young guy in that region, and so. Just a guy you identify early in the process, knew he was going to be special, and we're sure excited to have him here.
What does it take to?
What's that? Not very much, and when you have Chris Peterson, you kind of got to keep it on the DL, So, but I just remember seeing him at that camp, and it was a little bit more of a funny thing at the time, but just wanted to establish that at that time.
What did you see out of him in that camp that made you know he was that special?
Yeah, I was just really impressed. Just natural throwing ability. I thought he had a command at that camp, a level of focus, so wanted to get better from a coachability standpoint. So, again, probably part of the problem when you offer a guy that early, but sometimes you just see a guy and you decide to go in that direction.
You look at him and some of the other offensive weapons you added in the portal. Just how excited are you with all that you have to work with this fall?
Yeah, we're really excited. I think we were extremely aggressive again at certain positions. Most notably, probably that receiver position. Cam Camper's a guy that, again, one of my best friends coached him at Indiana. Felt there was an opportunity to go get an elite player at that position. Obviously with Chris's situation, getting Mal in here. But we're really excited about the guys we got coming back, and make no mistake about that. So I think it's going to be the infusion of that new talent with the guys we got and creating something special.
Sometimes when you hit the transfer portal for a guy, with a Big Ten school, it's like his practice tape that you see out there. With him, he's got like legit tape. I mean, you look what he did 2 years ago. I mean, he was on track to put up some monster numbers in Indiana's offense. So, given some of his injury history, how healthy is he right now, and how do you feel like he is going to fit in here?
Yeah, Jay, I think you said it. I mean, Camp is one of those guys. I remember asking in the evaluation process, I said, hey, can this guy be a big-time Mountain West receiver? And to a T, everybody I talked to is, no, if this guy stays healthy, he can be a big-time Big Ten receiver, So I think you hit the nail on it. We got to keep him fresh, keep him healthy. His rehab process is going to be critical, but we're extremely excited about him, not just from the standpoint of his play history, but just the leadership he can bring, the veteran leadership for a guy that's been there and done that.
What will he be able to do in the spring? Anything at all?
Yeah, I think, we're certainly going to get him out there, running routes day by day. I don't think we're going to have him, have much contact, but certainly want to just make sure, the confidence is built for him with his leg and his knee and get him to where he's got to get to.
With Chris Marshall, I mean, obviously, has some stuff in the past, but you guys, what'd you see to take a chance on him, and what's his on the field kind of potential for you guys?
Yeah, I mean, I think, for me, it's like I just don't ever want to, resist the responsibility of coaching. That's our job to me, right? Is not everybody's a ready-made product, and I don't feel you can turn down guys that aren't maybe just ready-made on day one. I think, in my talks with him, it's a guy that has a serious dream of being an NFL player and a focus to do that. And I'm extremely excited about taking that step with him every step of the way, and all of our guys. What do I think potentially from Chris Marshall? I mean, he needs to be a draft pick, and that's as honest as I can be about it. I think he's number one wide receiver in the class of 2022. I remember evaluating him again when I was at a previous school, and I just drew that line. It was like it was him, and then it was a bunch of other guys. And so the opportunity to get a talented player like that, again, our job to bring him into this type of culture. What better place in the country to bring him into than a place like Boise State? We're excited about the opportunity.
How aggressive you were at wide receiver, kind of, especially in the transfer portal, I guess. You also get Latrell back. It seemed like, last year with the wide receivers, Ashton was the best in the country probably with the ball in his hands after catch, after contact, whatever. I don't know how dynamic the receiver group was after the catch for the most part. So is that an area you can grow in, and can these guys do that?
Yeah, it's obviously something we have addressed. I think, Jay, the biggest thing is just the health, if you will, of all of those guys, right? We look at, you mentioned Latrell, we think can be one of the more dynamic players in this conference, if not on the West Coast. He's got to stay healthy, right? We got glimpses of Austin Bolt and what he could do. I think the one guy is just maybe from a youth standpoint would be Prince. Chase Penry's a guy that did some good things, got hurt, right? So it's, I think we've realized the amount of depth we need at that position. I remember going into weeks where we probably had 4 scholarship guys that were ready to roll in big games. And so for us, what we feel like we've done is create a lot of competition in that room. I think those guys understand that, and we really hope the competition is going to bring the best out of guys.
Is Latrell good to go for, what will his status be for spring?
Yeah, I know I'm sounding like a broken record, but he's another guy. He's good to go, but we're certainly going to be, monitoring his workload, making sure that he is easing back into things and feeling healthy.
What's Malachi's workload right now? What are you learning about him, study habits? How serious is he taking this thing?
A lot. That guy's got a lot of work to do, and I say that in a funny way. I just think, here's a guy that was a freshman. He himself has been banged up at his time at USC and was limited there practicing-wise. So he's been awesome. I think that's always step one, is gaining the respect of your teammates, and he's done a tremendous job with that, which we really felt he would just by the type of person he is. But certainly doing a good job of getting in here, familiarizing himself with the different terms and the language and the offense, because as we know, once spring ball starts, these practices are going to be critical for him.
I think we all know kind of the competitor that Mad Dog is, but what's his reaction been to, the shakeup in the QB room as he kind of comes back from that kind of significant injury?
Yeah, I think there was good communication with Maddox. I think he knows, I probably don't love anybody on this team as much as him, you know what I mean? And so he knew we were going to take a guy. And I think naturally that guy's somewhat been that underdog his whole life, if you will. And so when I placed the call, I said, hey, it's either going to be him or it's going to be him. He's like, awesome, just another guy, in my way type thing. And so it's going to be a quarterback room that is going to be competitive. And that's what we want to do at all phases of every position on this offense, is make it as competitive as possible. But I also think for many, many years here at Boise State, there's also been that part of rallying behind guys and doing it together and doing whatever's best for the team. So,
losing George in the running back room, you guys don't hit the portal there. You're just curious your makeup of the room, and is Breezy ready to kind of be that complement to Ashton in a bigger fashion than he was even last year?
Yeah, I think it's got to be one of the deepest groups, on this football team. And again, maybe if not in the nation, I think there's a bunch of explosive guys. I know we've talked about it, the high-end talent of Genty, but Jay, you really mentioned it. You look at Breezy, you look at what Tyler Crow has done here, you look at Sire Gaines, you look at Caden Dudley's one of those guys that for an off-season project is a guy we're really excited about figuring out how we're going to get him more touches. So extremely deep group. Again, long history of great running back play here at Boise, and we just hope to continue that.
Bush, overall, and you've been at places with a lot of talent. You mentioned the Indiana kid you want a draft pick. I know you have those expectations for Genty and a lot of other players. How do you compare these toys, what you have, compared to when you were at Washington and the SEC?
Yeah, I think there's certainly a handful of guys on this team that can play anywhere in the country, and we're excited about that. With that being said, as you guys know, I don't take it lightly too. You got Oregon, you got Oregon State, you got Washington State in the first 5 games. So we're certainly excited. But if anything has hit me here in the short while being back is we got to be ready, and we got to be ready early. There are no days of maybe you have one opening game and then you got conference play and you play the big one at the end. We saw what it was like last year, Washington, Memphis, back-to-back with UCF. This is big boy ball. They got really good players. They got really good resources, so we're going to have to get going.
Just for you personally, there was the last 2 months of last season was insane.
Yeah.
For you just to be here today and be able to attack this thing again, where's your mind at, and in terms of still being here and really knowing all those guys in the locker room and moving forward?
Yeah, I think you get in some ways maybe numb to it. Every year you just never really know exactly what to expect. But I do think there's a level of resiliency of the guys in this room who have gone through it in the hardest way. Certainly when Andy got let go in the middle of the year, yeah, just a lot of not knowing, a lot of, hey, what's going to be the next move? How do we stay focused and do this thing the right way for the seniors and the players? And so, to make it out for that year to me was really impressive. But as we know, there's no carryover to the next year. The next year will present its own set of issues, and we got to be ready to go.
On Twitter, you kind of revealed you're trying to find new ways to get Matt Lauder maybe involved. What NFL game were you kind of dissecting there? And then what is there a tight end you feel like you look at and see, like, and that's how we can use Matt?
Yeah, not necessarily one in particular, but I just think that position in general, and can be such a beneficial position when you've got a tight end that's willing to do what Matt does from a physicality standpoint in the run game, and certainly stretch the field vertically. I don't know if there's one tight end, but just always looking at different ways. I know, going back to previous stops, we had a guy, K-Dot now, who's in Tampa, a kid by the name of Hunter Bryant, who was extremely successful for us. So I think you always look at, you have in your mind, okay, we know Genty's going to have to get X amount of touches, but there's certainly 3 or 4 guys that we're also going, how can we be creative and catch defenses off guard?
Anything else? All right, thank you.
Appreciate you all.